Please welcome Ken Jennings. Ken Jennings is the author of 13 books, including New York Times bestsellers like Maphead and Because I Said So. His most recent book is 100 Places to See Before You Die. After you die. A travel guide to the afterlife. He also hosts a long-running TV quiz show for the elderly.
Thank you all for being here today. Thanks for supporting local authors and booksellers. It's a delight to see you. I was asked to read for a few minutes, for 10 minutes. Always the most boring part of any book event, so thank you for coming for the reading. My new book is 100 Places to See After You Die. I was in a bookstore a couple of years ago, and they had a table of those, this and that to do before you die, kind of bucket list travel books. And I saw the books upside down, and I thought it said 100 Places to Die Before You See. And I thought, that's not a bad idea for a book. I mean, like all those books about what to do before you die, they're leaving out at least half the audience, probably more, honestly. I don't know how many books the dead buy. That's probably why publishers don't cater to the deceased. But I've always really been interested in different visions of the afterlife, and so this book kind of catalogs 100 different versions of how humanity over time have viewed the life to come. Everything from ancient Egypt and Babylon all the way up through Dante and other writers, C.S. Lewis, all the way up to movies and TV, The Good Place or Coco or Beetlejuice, Field of Dreams, whatever. And it's really interesting. I've always been interested in the mysteries of life and death and what might lie beyond. I think this is because as a Gen X kid, I don't know if any of you are about my cohort, but do you remember when we all thought the secrets of the pyramids and UFOs and the Bermuda Triangle were going to be a very big part of our lives? Time Life books went to some effort to make us think this, that the mysteries of the unexplained were a very important part of adult life. And so I was always just fascinated by ghosts and seances and all the rest. And obviously, nothing against Sasquatch or the Bermuda Triangle, but death is the great mystery. It's universal, it happens to everybody. But everybody who knows the answer can't talk for one reason or another, either because they're not allowed or because there is nothing and we don't know. So the problem is a pop reference book like this is a little bit hard to excerpt. Maybe I'll just read the introduction to kind of give you the vibe. I'm also not sure how many copies of this Tom Nisley has left, so if this sparks your interest enough that you would like a copy of this and we are out, we can lay away signed copies at Tom's store, so please come by Phinney Books. I sign books for him up the street all the time. All right, 100 Places to See After You Die. Introduction. When Shakespeare called the afterlife the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns, he was echoing a tradition as old as recorded history. Death, our stories have always said, isn't a condition, it's a place, a journey. For the ancients, this was a very literal kind of travel. People from Persia to Ireland to Polynesia speculated on which specific caves or islands in their landscapes might be entrances to the underworld. The Egyptians and Aztecs died with itineraries in mind, maps and guides to help navigate a confusing and high-stakes tour through the world to come. In the Middle Ages, visionaries and poets produced elaborate travelogues of heavens and hells and purgatories. Dante was the world-building champ of his day, the medieval equivalent of a George Lucas or a George R.R. Martin, and centuries of readers pored over his careful geographies in the same way a modern audience might wander imaginary places like Hogwarts or Hyrule. Of course, it takes a certain kind of fundamentalism to read Dante's detailed travel notes about a 9-level pit and literally expect to spend eternity there. We now live in a time of unprecedented religious skepticism, but the afterlife is as lively a topic as ever, now with new options that Dante never considered, thanks to the West's comparatively recent discovery of reincarnation and astral planes and ghost hunter reality shows. A 2016 study of religious participation and belief found that even though the number of Americans who believe in God, pray, or attend religious services has declined steeply since the 1970s, the number of us who believe in the afterlife has actually risen slightly over the same time span. Even many diehard rationalists, it seems, are reluctant to imagine that death is a final ending. All that time and complexity and experience for nothing, it would seem such a cosmic waste. When you look at afterlife journeys from stories told over the millennia, from ancient Sumeria all the way up to the Good Place, the same roots and themes recur over and over. Ghosts are in at least their 5th century of moping around their old homes, moving objects by focusing very hard on them and not even always knowing that they're dead. Psychopomps, immortal guides, still appear after death to lead the soul away from mortal life. Heavens, whether Miltonian, Hindu, or Capra-esque, are still heavy on music and clouds and wings. Hell hasn't changed much between ancient China or Mesoamerica and South Park. Still the same turnabout as fair play, ironic punishments, the same jaw-droppingly long torture sessions, even the same gross bodily fluids. Dim underworlds still lie across rivers. This trope, by the way, probably arose from simple geology. Early humans knew that wells were deeper than graves, so buried souls would have to cross a layer of water as they headed downward. But afterlife destinations have changed over time in smaller ways, revealing the preoccupations of the living. In early civilization, life was so punishingly hard that paradise was generally just an absence, a place without disease, without winter, without crop failures. Later, as we could imagine a more luxurious life, new abundances appeared, feasts and harems and precious gems. The 20th century saw a rise in benign but bureaucratic heavens that mirrored our efficient new age. Lots of sterile waiting rooms, lots of fussy angels with clipboards. More recently, we've downgraded heaven further to fit into our new gig economies, shows like Dead Like Me or Miracle Workers, or our worries about technology, shows like Black Mirror or Upload. In this book, you'll get the inside travel scoop on 100 afterlife destinations organized alphabetically within 7 main categories. A chapter